Hello and welcome back. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Erin.
And this is the Getawayz Podcast. We get to go back to Italy today.
Over the next few podcasts, we're going to be talking about summer destinations in Europe since everybody's probably planning their holidays and we love summer in Europe. So today we're going to start with the lakes region in Italy.
All right. So we are going to focus on the three sort of bigger ones and more famous ones, I guess, today. Then that's Como, Garda, and Maggiore. And they each kind of have their own vibe and each have different things to offer. So should we get into it?
We went to the first one in June. We had just moved to Torino and we went to Garda.
Right.
Because we wanted to go to the amusement park, but we stayed at an Airbnb, a block away from the beach? I mean, from the lake?
From the lake, yeah.
And we kind of fell in love with it there. Just a side note, you know what we discovered on that trip?
What?
Something very important in our lives.
Aperol Spritz?
Lidl.
Oh, yes. Lidl is a German-owned grocery store that is all throughout Europe and has really interesting stuff. They have international weeks where they'll do 1 week of all Spanish food, and not all, but a whole aisle of Spanish food. And so they pick different countries, and we love it. I love it.
For our American listeners, Lidl used to be owned by the same company who owns Trader Joe's and Aldi. I think they were brothers and they split up. So it's kind of like our Trader Joe's in a sense.
Yeah, I love it. Check it out if you come. Anyway, back to Garda. And you said close to the beach because the lake does have a lot of area that's beach around it, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked a little bit before about the city and the area of Lake Garda, but I think that it is the best place that I can think of for families because there's a little bit of everything with an incredibly beautiful lake with all of the fun that comes with that, with boat rentals, and we rented that one with the slide. Remember?
Yeah, like a paddle boat that has a slide that goes down, and it's not my favorite in the lakes, but
it's mine, and it's Dylan. Dylan loved it. And the slides, just make a note that they are large enough for adults.
Yes, they are. You can tip them, though.
We didn't, though.
No. We went in June. It was still a little chilly.
But there's so much in the area with all the safari park and the movie land and Garda land all right there. It really is an incredibly family-friendly place where you could spend 3 or 4 days. Easy, right?
Easy, especially when it's warm and you're playing at the beach all day. They have great little beach cafes along the lake. There's a one thing that I found here in Europe that I didn't really know if we had them in America because I wasn't familiar with them, is almost like campsites. They're campsites, but they also have bungalows, and little houses. So families will stay there and they have activities for kids and they have restaurants in them and gaming areas that you can use even if you're not staying there, because we ate at that one restaurant. It was really nice. So and they're all speckled around the lake as well.
Yeah, and there's a trail that goes around, or a walking path that goes around the whole lake, and it's a great way to see all of that stuff and stop and get a drink and admire the view, and then kind of keep going. It's good for, just for a walk. It's great for the dogs. We did that a few times.
Yeah,
it was so nice. Yeah.
So I would say if you have a family, Lake Garda is where I would go.
Yeah, it is the largest lake in Italy, so it's big. There's a lot to offer. You can take the cable car to Mount Baldo from there. You can also visit, there's a few little towns, like Riva del Garda is a little town on the north side, which is very cute to sort of have a little, just a little half a day trip and do the shopping and restaurants over there. Yeah, I mean, there really is quite a bit to do there.
So now we're going to move on to what I think my favorite Italian lake is.
Como.
I would say just based on our experiences there, Garda's a more family-friendly lake. Como's a more
fancy pants,
a little bit more luxurious, one would say.
And so incredibly beautiful. But we've been there twice. The first time was in March with friends, and the second time was in May with my niece. And we did Airbnbs both times, right? On opposite ends.
Yeah, the first year we stayed in, and I'll put these on the website, but the first Airbnb we stayed in was It was gorgeous. Like the view was fantastic. It was very had a beautiful living room, a nice kitchen, a nice little outdoor area. It was so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and the view was spectacular and dog friendly. There was a little yard on the side. Yeah, that was with cash.
And neither one of these places were in a town. We were kind of out up the hill with a lake view. We weren't in one of the towns.
Yeah, but you could definitely walk. I walked cash every morning down to the lake.
Yeah.
The hike back up's not so easy, but very doable.
And then the second time we stayed on the other side of the lake between Como and Bellagio, and also very nice Airbnb, more just standard Airbnb, not so luxury, but perfect for us.
And really good location.
Good location.
With one exception.
We had a bit of so some of these Italian lake homes that are up in the hills have very, very narrow roads. And so we were trying to figure out how to get into where our Airbnb was. So Lisa got out.
Well, there was a gate, remember?
Yeah.
And so I got out to try and open the gate.
And I said, we're going to go turn around. So myself, her niece, Dylan, and Rex drove up the hill a little bit with every intention of turning around and basically got stuck because the road got so narrow that I would have had to keep going straight and I didn't know how high. And so I kind of panicked and we got out of the car and left Dylan and Rex in the car. And these Italian men came up and I was like, I don't know how to do this. So they got in my car, drove off, child and dog in car. A couple minutes later, came back down the hill. So they must have driven all the way up the hill and then come back down. Lovely. That's happened to us several times in Italy. And the Italian people are so nice to just get in and take over for us. So
it was also incredibly steep.
That's what scared me was the steepness.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm pretty good at driving a stick now after doing it for the last 8 years, it's still on really super steep hills. It still freaks me out a little bit. So I panic sometimes.
Yeah. But this was extraordinarily steep.
But once
ladder-like.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we got to the house, it was lovely. The view, again, lovely. And everything was really nice about it. We had a great restaurant pizzeria across the street.
Yeah, it was a little bit more, well, not in a town. It was definitely more populated in that area. So there was just more places to walk and little shops, and there was a little gelato place down the street. Yeah, really nice. So let's get into the actual cities in the Lake Como area, which obviously the most famous is Bellagio, right?
It's fancy pants town.
And it's so incredibly beautiful. I mean, it's an Italian postcard, right?
Well, so why don't we talk about when we first went, we were on a boat and that's where we saw a lot of the cities, right?
Yeah. So the friends that we were with had rented a boat that took us all around the lake. And then we made several stops along the way, right?
We did. Our main stops were Verena.
Right.
And Bellagio. We took an extended pause outside of George Clooney's house.
Which is no longer, I mean, I think he still owns it, but he doesn't live there anymore.
Oh, well, I've got pictures of it on the website if you want to see. So our first stop was Verena, which was a cute little town. We didn't see much of it because we had one destination, which was a Michelin restaurant.
Right, where we ended up having lunch.
Yeah, and it's called Il Cava Tapi. And it was good. It was very lake focused.
Yeah, I love fish, and I had a lake fish dish.
You didn't love it.
I didn't love it. So not something I would order again, but if you like that sort of thing, I'm sure it was good.
I believe Dylan and I had a pasta, which was fine. It was just a little fancier than what we're used to, I guess.
Yeah, no, but there's lots. I mean, the food, I think all over is you can sort of have your pick of street food and fancy food, but you can certainly find your fair share of fancy white tablecloth sort of Michelin-y places all throughout Como.
Yeah. So then we boarded back on the boat and did some more sightseeing. And then he took us to Bellagio for a little shopping and a little gelato. That was our first experience at Bellagio. And I'll let you tell us what you thought about it.
I mean, I think it's just a postcard. I think it's absolutely what you think of when you think of like the fanciest part of Italy. It's charming. It's beautiful. It's steep.
It's very steep.
There's little shops we did. Now I'm going to skip to the next trip when my niece was with us. There's lots of cute shopping, like little jewelry shops where we bought gifts for everybody, like beautiful scarves. I mean, it's all you could hope for, and it's what you imagine Lake Como to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It does not disappoint, but it also does get very, very crowded.
Because it's small and it's surrounded by lake and mountains. So there's no room to breathe, like to expand. So it is a small little town, small, narrow alleys. And in the summer, I can imagine it gets hot. We fortunately have gone in very mild times of the year,
Right.
which also led to it not being so crowded. But it is, yeah, it gets crowded. But it's lovely. I just love it. Like you just walk up and down different alleys and you see different cute little shops
And lots of like artists, like, stuff that's hand painted that you can't get anywhere else. It feels very community almost in a weird way, right? Even though there's so many tourists, like it still has like sort of a village, small village vibe to it.
Yeah. So if you are around the area, you have to make Bellagio one of your stops. They do have water taxis that will take you from like Como up to Bellagio. I don't have any idea what the price and stuff is because we drove the second time.
Right. Because there are no cars in the actual city.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to park kind of on the outside. But yeah, it's definitely, if you're in Como, you need to go to Bellagio. There's just that's Como and Bellagio are the two places that you really need to see.
Right.
So which leads us now back to Como.
Right. Which is a bit bigger
Mm-hmm.
And has, I would say, more like sort of traditional resources and like more restaurants, more shops that you would be familiar with. Still very charming and still absolutely beautiful. Just a little more
Accessible.
Yeah. And a little more commercial.
Yes. Yeah, because there's really charming parts, but then there's also just livable parts where people just live. And in Bellagio, I didn't feel like you could see that part of the town.
Right. Right.
Like Bellagio is just like all picture perfect.
Yeah. And Como.
I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because it is. I mean, it's pristine. And Como feels like, you could, there's not even really big hotels in Bellagio.
No.
So like Como is, like you'll find a 5-story hotel.
Yeah.
It's like a normal city that just happens to be in an incredibly beautiful place and incredibly charming, but it feels a little bit more traditional Italian. So in Como we went to a really great pizza place, right?
Yeah, it was called Lago Food and Co. The inside was beautiful.
But make reservations because it's not easy to get into.
Make reservations everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that's the theme of our podcast so far is make reservations everywhere.
Plan ahead, get front of the line, and make reservations. That's the takeaway. But yeah, I mean, I don't know Como. Is there anything else that?
Well, remember, Como still has very historic churches and architecture, and we even parked in a parking garage. That when they were building the parking garage, they uncovered an entire terme from like the early Roman Empire, and so you park above it, and then they have like glass floors and little cutouts where you can see the old ruins. I thought that was really cool. And then just walk around. We found a really cute cafe just walking around. I can't even tell you what it was called. I have one picture of Rex sitting out on the terrace at the cafe.
Right.
But there's just really charming places that you just have to walk into alleys where you think there's going to be nothing, and it kind of opens up to like a big area with lots of cool little things to see.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, yeah. I mean, I love Como, the lake in general.
Yeah. But I would put Como under Garda for family.
Yes. But for adult getaway, Como all the way.
All the way. All the way. Like if you wanted to take a romantic getaway, Como would be your place, I think.
Yeah.
And Como is not far from Milan, so it's easy to get to.
If you have a car.
If you have a car, yeah. Does there no train go into Como?
I don't think close. And then, so then we have Lake Maggiore, which I've never been to.
We haven't been to, but it's part of the lake region. We wanted to get there because friends from Torino were telling us about it, and they have like this like water ski area that has kind of like here where they have like a machine that goes over the lake and you hold on to a handle and then you water ski across a section of the lake. So people from Torino would go there a lot, and we're always trying to get me and Dylan to go, but we never went. But it is a big family lake, I believe.
And not as touristy as the other two. So you can probably find a little bit of a better deal, a little bit less crowds, and be able to do the boat rides and, sort of explore it on a little a little more intimate scale than maybe the other two.
And there's 2 islands in the middle of Lake Maggiore that are supposed to be nice to visit called Stresa and the Borromean Island, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And there's boat rides that go across to them. It's like very old architecture. I don't believe people live on it, but don't quote me. And it's yeah, I think it's more, you'll find more of a relaxed environment at Maggiore than the other 2.
Yeah. So I think that's our takeaway is, what we said before about family versus fancy with Garda and Como. But this whole area in the north is just so, there's also great wine up there. You are close to Milan. You can easily fly into Milan and go to either of those lakes or all 3 of those lakes from Milan. And they're all, it's all just stunningly beautiful. And the water is ridiculously clean.
Yeah. You won't be disappointed at any of the lakes. But I've got a question for you. If I said right now, we're going to go to a lake in Italy, where would you want to go?
Well, Como, but I would hesitate a little bit longer if that was real for saying Maggiore, because I've never been there and would like to see it.
Yeah, I guess we would have to do a split and do part at Maggiore and part at Como.
Yeah, and I love Garda, but I feel like we've been there and I don't particularly need to go back.
No, because honestly, for me, going back to Garda would be for Gardaland, but we've got other places we need to explore for theme parks.
Right. And if you want to hear more about the theme parks in Garda, we have a podcast about European amusement parks that you should check out.
Well, I think that wraps up a little bit of a shorter episode, but we just wanted to cover this region because it's almost summer.
And it's worth seeing, and something that, people do traditionally just think beaches and like the southern islands for Italy. And this is a whole area that's so worth exploring. All right, guys, thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us today.
Check us out next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and review.
Check out the website, www.thegetawayzwithaz.com.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.